This house that you guys are looking at right behind me is a 5-bedroom, 3-bathroom house, a little over 2,700 square feet, and it can be all yours for just $18,000 a month, guys. I mean, who can't afford that, right? I mean, I can't believe they haven't rented it already. $18,000 a month? I mean, so cheap. I wasn't planning on starting the video in front of this house, but sometimes when I just park, I just find something and you have to pick on it. And they just listed it like 15 days ago. So I have a feeling this is going to be yet another house sitting on the market for quite a long time, waiting for that hopeful tenant, just like some of these other houses we've seen asking 18, 20 grand a month that are sitting on the market for like 6 months. So I don't know, man. I don't know how long it takes people to learn their lesson, but not my problem. Now, one thing I really wanted to touch on in detail today is what's going on with the Fed and what's going to happen from this most recent rate hike. So as you all probably know, this week the Fed hiked the rates once again, another 75 basis points. But what is this going to mean for the everyday person? You know, that's what I think a lot of people probably are looking at and want to know. So I want to spend a little time going over this to give you guys an idea of what's going to happen from this and what we can expect going into next year. The first thing and the most obvious thing that we can all expect is payments on anything that has to do with interest is going to go up, guys. If you have credit card payments, if you have a HELOC loan, if you're going to be getting a mortgage for a house, if you're going to be getting an auto loan, if you're going to be getting a personal loan, anything that you pay interest on is going to be more expensive in the coming months. That's basically a guarantee. So this is one way that these rate hikes are supposed to start curbing inflation, because as borrowing just becomes more and more expensive, it's going to create less demand for these different type of loan products, essentially. Now, according to whatever Powell said the other day, he's saying that they could start slowing down the rate hikes as early as December, but that's not a guarantee. Nothing has been decided up to this point. So whenever the meeting comes in December, there's a chance that they might not hike it by 75 basis points, maybe just by 50 basis points. But I doubt it, guys, because the way things have been going, the trend so far has been, oh, inflation's not so bad. We're just going to take a low and slow approach to this and raise it little by little. Well, after doing this for the entire year and things just continue to get worse, then chances are they're going to have to continue with these 75 basis point rate hikes. And Powell said in his speech that they have no problem doing this if necessary. So he's saying that it could be a possibility that they turn things around in December, or at least slow down, but it's pretty highly unlikely, guys. And think about this. If they don't slow down in December, the next Fed meeting after that is going to be February. So let's just imagine by December, they do another 75 basis point rate hike, guys. Then we're going to be having extremely high interest rates for at least the next 2 months going into next year until the very next meeting. So this is going to cause a ton of economic pain over the next few months. And if we're being honest, I don't think if they do by 50 basis points is really going to change that much at all, guys. It's still going to make things very expensive going into next year. And even according to Jerome Powell himself, one thing that he said in his speech is that it's not a matter of when we're going to pivot right now. It's a matter of how high are we going to hike rates. That's much more of the concern of the Fed right now, is how high are they going to continually raise rates, more than when are they going to pivot. He even thinks that right now rates are not too high, and he's pleased so far with the amount of rate hikes they've done and the progress that they're making. Basically, the plan is this: let's continue hiking rates until things get so bad that we have no choice to put it into reverse. And what he said is, if that happens, then we still have other tools at our disposal, like lowering rates again and quantitative easing. So what does that mean? That means that the Fed is going to continue to hike interest rates until something goes very wrong, meaning that unemployment rates get way too high, or too many businesses go out of business, or the real estate market craters, the stock market craters. Think of something on that level. It's going to take that much of economic pain for them to reverse course at the moment. And by then, obviously, the damage is already done, guys. There's not much that anybody can do once it gets to that point. So let's acknowledge that. What this means is this is going to be the never-ending circle of doom, because whatever he said is exactly what got us to this problem to begin with, of where we're at right now. It got us to the problems that we had in 2008, and they're just using the same old playbook over and over again to solve these problems, and it's not working, guys. It just continually makes things worse. Always fighting these landscapers, man, I'll tell you. Not a video goes by when I don't have to try and escape these landscapers. Whatever happened to raking up the leaves, right? Got to use this annoying piece of equipment. Now, this isn't going to be a full-fledged pros and cons video, but since some of you have asked me in the past, well, hey Michael, you're covering all the negative stuff, you know, what's the good out of all of this? Well, I'm going to tell you guys, the one thing that's good about this never-ending circle of doom that the Fed is putting us through in this economy is the fact that it's somewhat predictable, because we have already seen this playbook several times in history, and we don't have to look any further back than 2008 to see what these high interest rates will do to the housing market and the stock market and the overall economy, which is good news, because knowing more or less what's probably going to happen from this gives you a chance to prepare and hopefully be ready for these interest rate hikes and what might come from them, rather than be completely blindsided like, oh my God, I had no idea the stock market might fall 40%. I had no idea the value of my home might fall 30%. And I had no idea I might get laid off. You know what I mean? So because we have seen this happen before, we can more or less determine where things are going to go from here. And they're going to go exactly like we've been talking about the last several months, guys. Everything is going to continue to go down. Asset prices are going to fall left and right, okay? The economy is going to get worse. It's just gonna happen because it's the Fed's mission to make it happen right now. Look how bad things got messed up right now when it comes to inflation. You know, we have this crazy inflation that's making the cost of living almost unaffordable right now. We have cost of housing off the charts right now because they did not continue to raise interest rates back in 2021 when they should have started doing it. So that's one of the main issues. And if they would have started doing it back then, instead of wait till this year, we would probably be in much better shape than we are right now. And think about the delay in raising these rates and how much damage it did to the economy over the past couple years with everything getting crazy expensive. Well, we can expect a similar amount of damage now that the whole playbook is in reverse, but just on the way down, guys. So look at how fast asset prices for everything went up. The cost of housing shooting up. The cost of buying shares in the stock market shooting up. All of that's going to go in reverse just as fast as it went up, which means in a couple years from now, we could be looking at 2019 to 2018 prices for basically everything. So if it took a couple years for it to go up, maybe it will happen faster on the way down. I don't know, but it'll be interesting to find out. But there's no denying that there's a direct correlation if we look back to 2008 of the Fed raising interest rates back then and what happened to the economy shortly after that. Things started falling off a cliff, you know, 6 months to a year later, and that's exactly what's starting to happen right now, because we are almost a year into these rate hikes, and just now everyone's starting to wake up and realize the financial pain that is coming. But one thing that is totally different this time around is the amount of free money that was put into circulation and pumped up this complete bubble that we're in right now is so much larger than it was back during the 2008 crash and the 2008 recession, guys. So that means the higher that it went up, then the further we probably have to fall this time around. I mean, it's just common sense. And I think that's what a lot of people are afraid of right now, is just how far things are going to come down from this, because it's not looking pretty. And the Fed is going to be showing no signs of slowing down until something is totally broken, guys. Powell just said it himself a couple days ago. But one thing that everyone needs to understand is no matter what they do, whether they continue raising rates until something's broken, or say they were to pivot right now and turn the money printer back on and lowering rates, either way it's going to completely screw things up, guys. I think that's what a lot of people don't really understand, is there's no way out of this right now. There's going to be pain either way. It's just a matter of, you know, choosing the lesser evil. And right now, they're kind of doing a combination of both, you know. They're going for the evil that will bring the economy to its knees, and once that has happened, then they'll try to patch things back up. So that's the playbook, and because it's so predictable, and we've seen this happen several times in the past, it's not that hard to know what's coming next and what you can do. That's why I've been telling people things like, you know, buy gold and silver, guys. Wait to buy real estate until prices come down. Wait to buy into the stock market. This is the time to be saving, having no debt, having an excellent credit score, and when you do all these things in times like this, you're going to be more than rewarded, because everyone who didn't do this is going to be suffering while you're there taking advantage of all the opportunities that are about to come. And all we need to do is look at the most recent job market report, since that's supposedly still looking so strong. You know, unemployment's still at 3.7% supposedly, and that is just a huge bullseye for the Fed, and the Fed has a huge hard-on for unemployment right now, guys. They want unemployment to skyrocket. That's what they're trying to do, and that could be the first thing that breaks the market, so to speak, that will cause them to do a pivot. We got one for rent here.
Actually, they must have just forgotten to take the sign down, because there's nothing actually for rent here, but the whole building's for sale for any investors out there. 5 units, only $2,950,000. Come and get it, guys.
However, the amount of jobs that's being added per month is starting to decline. Last month, in October, it went down to 261,000 new jobs, and the September data was 315,000 new jobs. But if we look back to 2021, guys, the economy was supposedly adding over 500,000 jobs per month. So that's a huge decline, actually, but the Fed wants it to go lower, essentially. So until it does, you can pretty much guarantee they're going to move forward with these interest rate hikes, because this is actually one of the main things that they're looking at in order to determine whether or not to keep raising rates or not. Now, another thing that we can look at is Social Security. Social Security was started in 1935 by Congress, and it is funded from taxpayer payroll contributions, and the program was set up to provide the financial needs for aging population and some disadvantaged Americans. That's basically the history and the purpose of Social Security. Got another one for rent behind me here.
Here's another one that's not actually for rent. The strategy here is leave the sign up and collect a bunch of numbers and calls and have leads for other things and try to sell them something else. Typical old real estate playbook.
But here's the thing, guys. Look at how much life costs right now and how much things are going up. I shared with you guys that next year I'm expecting my total household expenses to go up about $1,000 a month, okay? And one thing that a lot of people should be looking at right now is ways to reduce their monthly expenses. And, you know, for me personally, I've been living on a shoestring budget for the last 15 years, essentially. And now the day of reckoning has come for me, where I just have to pay more now, not by choice, but because I have to. But for a lot of people that have been living high on the hog for so many years because life has been relatively cheap and interest rates have been so low for so long, people like that really have to start looking at how to crunch the numbers. Because check this out, guys. 1 in 4 households rely on their Social Security income for 90% of their household income. So think about that. 25% of all households, you can go down your neighborhood and count, every 4 houses, 90% of their income comes from Social Security. And guess what? The average Social Security payment right now is $1,600 a month. So if that's 90% of your monthly budget, that means you're bringing in on average less than $2,000 a month. So just think about how households that are bringing in $2,000 a month for their income are going to survive with how much everything is costing right now. Just to fill up your car, if you have a regular car, depending on where you live, that's probably close to $100 right now. So if you're only making $2,000, you do the math, okay? Groceries, $400 or $500 a month. The rent, the mortgage, even just property taxes, whatever it is, even if you don't have a mortgage, that's already more than half of your income, guys, just from those things right there. Honestly, I don't know how anyone's gonna do it. What's scary about Social Security is Social Security themselves say that they only have about 13 years worth of funds right now to pay out the promised amount of retirement funds. So for the next 13 years, pretty much anyone who's going to be collecting Social Security is going to be sitting in a good position. But after that, it's all up in the air, guys. They're saying that people in my generation, like the millennials and Generation X, are going to be taking probably a cut in the amount that was promised initially, or they're going to have to put off the age that you can start collecting Social Security in order to fix it that way. So there's really no easy answer to fixing this, and that's why I'm bringing this up, because things are getting so tough out there. If you are in your 30s or your 20s, then you still have time to try to create your own form of retirement. And you know, Social Security may or may not be there by the time we get there. In fact, 83% of Americans surveyed think that Social Security is going to be gone, you know, by the time they retire. So that's not a very optimistic outlook for Social Security. So pretty much most baby boomers are going to be fine. They're going to be able to get their Social Security that they were promised for the most part. But it's the younger generation that could be in trouble, guys. What they're telling people, that if you want to have a better shot at collecting more Social Security in the future, then you need to earn as much money as possible now, because the more money you earn, the more money you will pay in the Social Security tax, and that will add up to the amount that you'll be eligible for when your retirement actually comes. But you know who's really going to be screwed from this most likely is Gen Z. Now, I don't know if anybody from Gen Z watches my channel. There might be a few of you out there, but it's not looking good for you guys, because that is so far in the future for you guys to collect Social Security that's when it may not actually exist anymore. But if it does, this article that I'm referencing is basically telling people that, well, Generation Z is so tech savvy, and they have so many financial resources available to them at such a young age that they need to be looking at ways to make life more affordable and make investments for their futures while they're still young and still have time to do all this. Can you believe that that's what they're telling people? Like, yeah, if you're in your 20s right now, you know, don't even worry about Social Security. Focus on investing in your future and, you know, watching YouTube videos like this to make sure that everything's going to be fine, guys. So that's the advice that you're getting from Social Security right now. Here's another thing. You know, the economy is in trouble, especially the housing market when it comes to mortgage lenders, when you're starting to see headlines like this. I came across this article today saying how to get a home equity loan with bad credit. So why are they even talking about this, guys? Well, probably for a lot of reasons. One, mortgage lenders are suffering big time right now. There's more layoffs going on in the mortgage industry right now than probably any other industry, as the demand for new mortgages is falling off a cliff. And to make matters worse, they're targeting people that don't even have good credit right now. And why are they doing that? Because the only thing that they can squeeze out of these people is the collateral being the real estate. And you know, someone who has bad credit is not an ideal borrower, so they're going to charge you a ton of extra money in lending fees. They're going to charge you a higher interest rate, and what they're doing is they're just going to be preying on people that are desperate for cash right now, and literally the only asset they have is their house. And so when you see stuff like this starting to happen, it's basically, are the mortgage brokers going to be able to stay in business by making these type of loans, and the banks hopefully repossessing the property if things don't go their way? Or are these people with bad credit actually going to be able to survive this thing and pay back the loans? My guess is it's probably the first option, because anyone who's got bad credit if you're looking to get a home equity line of credit, then that's probably your last resort option essentially. You're looking to borrow from your house because you don't have anywhere else to grab the cash from, and that's pretty much a sign of financial illiteracy in most cases. Now I realize that some people fall on hard times and that could be, you know, their emergency solution to the problem, which makes sense, but most of the time it's usually just financial ineptness, guys. That's what it usually comes down to. And one other thing, what they're telling people in this article, I'm not going to go over the whole thing with you guys, but one thing that stood out to me that they're telling people who have bad credit as a tip on how to get a home equity line of credit, they're telling people, oh, get a cosigner. So listen guys, if you have a family member or a friend that you know is notorious for not paying their bills on time and they have bad credit, but somehow miraculously they were able to buy a house and they have 15 to 20% equity in there and they could be eligible for one of these loans and they need your help, run the other way, guys, because it's almost a guarantee that you're going to be the one stuck paying back that home equity line of credit, because, you know, people like that have just shown that they're not responsible enough to pay back the loan. So please don't vouch for them. Don't put your own family's financial future on the line for somebody else like that, because it's just not worth it. People need to learn from their own mistakes, because that's ultimately the best way for anyone to learn anything. So unfortunately, they made their bed. It's time for them to lay in it. Might sound harsh, but that's the reality, guys. In times like this, everybody needs to start looking out for their own financial future, because things are getting tough for everyone right now. If you guys enjoyed this video and you want to see more like it, make sure you hit the bell notification down below. And if you don't want to wait for the next video, check out this one on the screen right over here, and I'll see you in the next one.